For my son Lucian's birthday, we camped beside an inlet I had not visited for almost 2 decades. Lucian had been exhibiting more and more curiosity about his birth, and the ocean world he came from. He seemed determined to explore and dive as I had once done. I had told him before who his mother was, the last of a race of aquatic beings who had perished, that she had died when Lucian was a baby, and that she loved him very much. But I had never told him more than that. That first evening by the fire, in the warm, dark night with the sound of the sea, I opened up to Lucian as I hadn't before. It was more than 16 years ago, when I went on an expedition. Hey everybody, welcome to part 3 of my Aquaria review series. In this part we'll cover chapter 1 of the sequel mod, developed by Faust Genesis on BitBlot forums. To play this mod you'll need to fiddle with the open source file or something, then run Aquaria config as an administrator, at least that's what I had to do. A couple of things I want to note about how this game runs. Aquaria is not a game that likes you moving the mouse outside the window, and just pausing it or whatever won't work. But if you're playing the Steam version, recording footage is easy enough since you can just hit Shift and Tab to escape the confines of the game's window, then select it in a program like OBS Studio, jump back into it, and hit an assigned hotkey to start recording once you're in. In any other version of the game, you'll just have to record the entire screen, and I couldn't even start the recording with a hotkey. Here's what the footage you're watching actually looks like. Yeah. I didn't want to risk compromising my Steam copy of the game, so I bought a separate copy from BitBlot forums and modded that. So if these characters look kinda blurry because they're small, I'm sorry. Another thing, while this mod is pretty stable, the screen is prone to flickering as you enter new areas in some cases. The last time I played it, no such thing happened. I assume that's just it loading. It's not a perfect mod, but it's fine. A couple of changes I appreciate. There's a difficulty setting now, so that's nice. In addition, memory crystals are only necessary now if you want to quit partway through and need to save your game. Otherwise, you'll just respawn wherever you enter the board when you get killed. So if you haven't saved in a while and you go belly up, don't panic. While the opening cutscene does a great job bringing those of us who haven't played Aquaria in a while up to speed, those of you who are just tuning into these videos are going to be completely lost unless you at the very least watch the later stretches of part 2, as this game picks up after a secret ending that ends the story on one hell of a down note. When we last left off, Nyjah was kidnapped and mind-wiped by her mother and disappeared from Aquaria for a really long time, and her son Lucian grew up never knowing her. Curiously enough, chapter 1 of the sequel mod picks up on land, with an aging Lee telling Lucian about his apparently dead mom and their short life together beneath the waves. Happy birthday, kiddo. The gameplay of chapter 1 all takes place in a flashback, so I guess that makes it a prologue to future chapters, which probably won't jump around as much. It's a pretty short mod, more of a preview of bigger things to come. You can finish it in less than an hour if you know what you're doing. You know, it's kinda funny to me seeing Lee interact with all of Nyjah's different forms. Part of me thinks it would be hilarious if Lee secretly had a bunch of unfulfilled closet fetishes all his life that she could use her other forms to satisfy. You like plant girls? Nyjah's got you covered. Feral shark girls? She can do that too. And we should stop playing. When Nyjah doesn't return from her walk, Lee goes looking for her. It's kind of up to you where to go, but I think the first instinct of anyone who saw the true ending will be to go to the starting area where she was seen reminiscing about her adventure at the end of the first game. So yeah, you go all the way back to where the game began, and oh look, there's her cape! So she was here. Looks like we're on the right track. From here, Lee can wear Nyjah's cape, which makes me pretty happy. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just helping me cope with the disappearance. Helping Lee cope. You can also find other pieces of her outfit scattered around Aquaria, so you at least know you're on the right trail. Lee can only wear the cape as far as I know. The home waters haven't changed much. Sure, some of the creature placement is a bit different. There are new animals you see later on, some friendly and some not, and you see Lee's sub neatly parked outside the house. But other than that, it's just the way we left it. It sort of feels like the original game is still going. A lot of the pathways to other areas are inaccessible to Lee, just like they were to Nyjah at first in the main game. The next place you go to is a song cave, which is now completely overgrown with giant sea anemones, and they're all different. Some of them give you blurry vision and mess with your senses, but don't really hurt you. Some of the more exotic looking ones poison you, some do both. It's a nice touch that they don't all affect you in the exact same way. Lee decides this place is too dangerous for Lucian, so he doubles back and lets one of Nyjah's pets babysit the tot in the cutscene. Now we're introduced to 2 of the sequel mod's new mechanics, throwing and weight. Putting something in Lee's hand will enable him to throw it, and best that explained, You can only carry so much stuff at a time before Lee gets slowed down by the weight, but I never got close to that threshold, though I did notice Lee is a bit faster if I strip him down to his skivvies. Without Nigel's abilities to harvest plants for ingredients, I had barely any food items to spare. I'd say that's my fault though, since Genesis was kind enough to leave some freebies in Nigel's kitchen, including ingredients for new dishes. I just didn't bother to check at first. They should be enough to get you through Chapter 1. I assume in future releases we'll be able to backtrack to these areas and use the verse to harvest this stuff. Maybe Lucien will be able to use the verse just like his mother. To make it through clumps of these, just find jellyfish of the same color and feed them to the enemies. If you miss, the jellyfish will regrow their tentacles and start swimming again, so you should be able to recapture them and try once more. Another touch I like is now the creator's dead, you don't hear his voice when you come back to the statue. It's still creepy though. When you make it to the back of the cave, you see an entire new area has been added, and this is where the peaceful Aurelians who were on the brink of extinction have made a comeback. Yeah, finally, a completely new place to explore. I admit, it was starting to feel like I was going to spend the whole chapter just retracing my steps from the first game, but this area gave me hope. It's beautiful. There's a ton of new assets here, which is one of my favorite things about Aquaria mods, is the new stuff people design. This is what I want to see. Seeing how soft and squishy these delicate cuttlefish-like people are, I assume they use their psychic powers to build all of this. You don't talk to them per se, but if you interact with them, they'll give you visions of things that have already happened and some things still to come. And most of these do not bode well, like this one of a strange deadly creature on the prowl. We also see what appears to be Lucien touching the crystal Naja gets trapped in, and another one of Naja making friends with a Croite? Oh yeah, that's another race from the first game. I barely talked at all about them. Yeah, these people are the closest things there was in the game to bad guys. I assume this Croite is one of the spirits Naja freed from the body. You can't explore much of their area without a light source though. Fortunately, you'll find one where the Aurelians live, and here we're introduced to another mechanic. Walking. Yes, Lee, the human, can walk on land. I never saw that coming. I assume there will be a lot more of walking in future chapters, so it's good they introduce us to this now, even if only for a moment. Hey buddy, need help with that? No? Alright then. With glowing fruit in hand, Lee explores the darker depths of the Croite ruins and finds some entirely new areas that might not be ruins at all. From the looks of it, people could still be living here. To go any further, you'll need to find a living Croite to help you, and it's not long before you find a Croite prisoner. Is he a criminal, or just someone they wanted to make an example of? We don't find out. He helps you out by opening a door for you and leaves, possibly to appear in a later chapter. I mean, I hope he does. It would be nice to have a Croite ally. Eagle-eyed viewers may notice I'm using a mouse to control Lee in some of this footage, despite preferring a gamepad most of the time. That's because aiming Lee's blaster with a controller is a pain. It makes me miss the homing properties of Naja's attacks. It's especially annoying that you can't really aim without moving Lee in that direction with a joystick. On the other hand, I don't much like using a mouse to swim around, since it's easy for Lee to drag behind and bump into things. Actually, fighting most of the enemies you encounter just isn't worth the trouble this time. Leave them be, they're just animals defending their territory from you as they should. So to sum up Lee's gameplay, I use the controller to move him whenever I can, only stopping to shoot or throw things with a mouse. This won't be an issue for much longer though. At the other side of the Croite grounds, you find some caves with a peculiar area you can't reach from this side, followed by a big open area aptly called the open area. Don't get your hopes up for much exploration yet. You can't actually explore most of this board's branching pathways, as Lee's cut off by powerful currents. Naja could probably beat these currents with a beast form or a speed potion, but Lee isn't Naja. At the bottom of this area, you'll find a graveyard filled with regurgitated fish refuse. So whatever ate these things must be big enough that it doesn't typically chew its food and just spits out the indigestibles later. This cave entrance is pretty easy to miss, but hey, may as well check it out. What's the worst that could happen? Oh yeah, we're in the lair of a Dunkleosteus. This is the creature that appeared in that vision earlier, and man is it a good choice for a boss. Seriously, this is one of my favorite marine animals. You wouldn't even see anything like this by the time the dinosaurs came around. It's like a giant turtle, shark, beetle, bus, tank, Rex. Depending on how you approach it, this boss could give you a harder time than any other main game's bosses, or it could be over in the blink of an eye. It's not so bad at first. The trick is to goad it into eating these exploding animals just before they blow up. Just blowing them up near it won't work. Sure, that'll stun him and knock him around a bit, but it won't do any damage. His armor is too thick. Plus, if your timing is off, these can easily knock you into the Dunkleosteus' mouth. Throw enough of a fit inside and he'll spit you out along with any poppers he also had in his mouth, undoing all your work. I wouldn't advise just taking this a step at a time. After the first 1 or 2 explosions worth, it gets a lot more aggressive. This thing will pursue you relentlessly, and if it gets you once, oh, it'll get you again, and dog you until you die. See, this is why I said it can get super hard. Just don't give it a chance. I'm so used to dying here, I actually got really lucky during this recording, so I don't have any footage of it killing me like I'm describing. Whoopsie. My advice is to wait until it's eaten at least a dozen of these, as many as you like, until it eventually eats one that combusts. This will create a huge chain reaction, causing any other popper still inside it to also blow up at the same time. It's so satisfying to see it shaken around by a crazy series of internal explosions. And then you find the rest of Nigel's undigested suit. Heartbroken, Lee is left to assume the Dunkleosteus ate Nigel and leaves. As if that wasn't enough, higher up you find Croite children. I would say we're entering the back door of the Croites domain, but I think this may actually be the main entrance, and the parts we entered and explored in the first game were the Croites' crappy rear porch. If you come here before encountering the Dunkleosteus, nothing happens, but if you come here afterward, you get captured immediately. If you try to fight your way out, they'll slay you. Your only hope is to put the blaster away and wait for them to realize you're not a threat. Now this next part can go a couple of different ways. If you put your blaster away before they get you, they won't notice it. But if you put it away during the encounter, they'll take it from you then and there, and the following cutscene will play out a little differently. In the best case scenario, Lee gets to tell them about his search, about Nigel, and his battle with the beast. Some of the Croites want to make a sacrifice out of Lee. You know, to the gods Nigel killed. But enough of them are impressed by Lee's feat that they decide to let him pass through. A trio of them escort you through the city, using the same powers Nigel's energy form has to open doors. There are Croites everywhere here, and they just look at you like, wait, what the hell? Who's that? If you try to enter this upper area, the Croites get really mad and almost kill you on the spot. We don't get to see what's up there, though you can see the shape of this board on the map. It's a lot more homely looking than the rest of these rooms, so I assume this is where the children are raised. I'm sure we'll go up there in a future chapter. Once you're far enough to make it out on your own, they gang up on you again so the leader can take your blaster for herself if she didn't already take it earlier. Now you have no means of defending yourself whatsoever. Oh well, at least there isn't anything dangerous around. And I spoke too soon. Jeez, this can get hairy really fast. It doesn't take long to make it back to Nigel's house from here. In fact, it's right around the corner from the Croites' back door. Oh shit. Oh shit! When I got to this scene, I was so scared for Lee's life. Somehow I'd forgotten about that first cutscene on land, but remembered seeing this exact scene in the Aurelian's visions, and that he doesn't appear in Aquaria's ending, so for all I knew, this was it. Lee was going to die here, and Lucien was going to spend his formative years as a Croite slave. Thankfully, my fears were completely unfounded. Lee tells him about the door to the open waters that you'd normally use Nigel's energy form to open in the first game, and the curious Croites agree to let him escort them to the door so they can use it. Oh, great. I gotta tell you, the Croites really are a scary people. It's like they just don't give a crap about anyone who isn't a Croite, and they enjoy making others feel powerless. Barring a few exceptions, it's like bully is their race's entire character. A Croite woman has been holding Lucien this whole time, and Lee gets her to give him up by standing his ground and shooting her a mean look. Good on you, Lee. Maybe she's a parent herself, so she understands or something. Maybe there's hope for these people yet. I can't help thinking the one who took Lee's blaster is going to be a recurring character in future chapters, along with that convict we freed. Once they make it to open waters, Lee books it to his old cave, never to return again to Nigel's home, pleasantly surprised to find his cave is pretty much exactly how he left it. He sits tight for a while, still clinging to some hope that Nigel might appear again as she did when they first met, but she never does. Sure enough, without Nigel around to give him magic kisses, he eventually loses his ability to breathe underwater and reverts to being a normal, insignificant landlubber. With the Croites now presumably expanding their territory, thanks to him, Lee decides Aquaria is too dangerous of a world for his son to grow up in and heads for the surface, intent on leaving the ocean for good. We get a really nice shot of land with the sky city the creator fell from dominating the background. So yeah, that place survived the meteor shower, and for all we know, it's probably where Lee originally came from too. I can't help thinking Aquaria's story is eventually going to end inside that place. We cut back to the future as Lee finishes telling Lucien his story, and we see another member of Nigel's species eavesdropping, and she leaves just as Lee says he still doesn't really believe Nigel is dead and feels he gave up on her too easily. Those with good eyes may recognize this girl as the one who appears briefly in the first game's ending, possibly as Lucien's future love interest. Lucien bolts after the Aquarian girl to parts unknown, and I'm sure he'll be fine. He is part merfolk after all. So that's the end of Chapter 1. It might not seem like much right now, and I understand some of you are probably disappointed because you were hoping to see Nigel return in this one, but I think it's a good start. We've covered most of Lee and Lucien's story between Aquaria's normal ending and the time skip. Now that we've left the foundation, I can see the next chapter either picking up from here and showing how Aquaria has changed since Lee left 16 years ago, or shifting the focus to Nigel and showing what she's been up to this whole time. Maybe it'll end with her trapped in the blue crystal and Lucien coming home and waking her up from it. This chapter tied up a lot of loose ends while planting seeds for future events. After all, if the Croites and Aurelians are doing alright, I think it's safe to say Nigel's people have since made a comeback too. and she's probably a legend to them by now. Although not that many of them appear in this chapter, False Genesis has developed a ton of new assets for this project, and we're going to see new places in the future. I also like the little things we've seen, like the tweaks to Lee's design, the way he's let his hair grow out, and the cutscenes are a bit of an improvement over the first games. There's more movement, more dynamic panning shots and the like, and the characters are just a teensy bit more emotive. There's something slightly more intense about it all. I can't wait to see some of these tweaks made to Nyjah as well, and what she does next. I know this video might not be everything people were hoping it would be, but I needed to make it. Not that many people commented on the last part, and I understand that some may be torn on this game because of the downer killjoy ending, and we're probably waiting to see part 3 before they decide whether or not to splurge on this game and get their heart pulled out on the weight of this. They needed some glimmer of hope that this story would go someplace better than Bitblot left it at a decade ago, and I'm here to say, yes. This sequel mod has already given me newfound hope for these characters, for this world, and just like so many times throughout the first game's story, I'm left not really knowing where we go from here. And it's still an exciting feeling. I'm optimistic. I'm looking forward to wherever else False Genesis may take us, and I hope this video and your feedback have encouraged him to keep going, and you can bet I'll be covering the other chapters he releases in due time. I'll try to give people a while to play those before spoiling everything. For the time being, I'll just link the game in the sequel mod thread in the description for anyone who's ready to give this a try. Thanks for watching. I hope you've all enjoyed this, for now, 3-part series on this special game. I love Aquaria, and I want it to thrive like it never has before. I want to look at more games that not that many people know about, not just Sonic or Bionicle, you know? I haven't quite decided yet, but the next game I cover will probably be Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring, because, yes, they made a game about that, and it may not be what you were expecting. Before that, I think I'll make a video about Star Fox Zero. Not a full review, just, you know, something about my thoughts on it. See you then. Hey, Lee, where you going, you idiot? You'll drown!